bars in a rave. Man, I go hard like Santan.
Hello. Welcome to Chessy Hour. My name is Meeds. I'll be your host for this one. Today I'm joined by my good boy. How you doing? Babs, it's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a minute, man. It's been a minute. It's been good to have some time on a Thursday, not be holed up in the middle of nowhere. So
Yeah, I was gonna say up in the Midlands, gallivanting.
Yeah, God. So I thought, why not, join my good friend Meeds and have some Chelsea therapy, but in a good way for once.
I mean, some people are gonna say suspicious. You coming on after a big win against Liverpool. We're gonna be very, very suspicious. But it's like back pods as well. It was on the main pod, and then all of a sudden, on a Chessy pod. So
we're going to show my face again.
Yeah, we're not going to get into it too much. We're not going to talk about the speculation too much. But after such an impressive victory at the weekend against Liverpool, I'm not surprised that you've shown up because there's a lot to talk about. And I probably, the place to start really is the lineup and just getting into the game in general because, I don't know, I was quietly confident, but I wasn't entirely sure if we're going to actually get the job done. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Liverpool
have been an annoying team, and it's weird. Our record against Liverpool is actually pretty good, but it just doesn't feel like it because it's been like a while.
Do you know what I think is as well? I think the reason it doesn't feel like it is that when it comes to high-profile games, so the League Cup, the FA Cup twice,
the finals. Yeah,
the finals. When you're losing the finals, obviously has a bit more of a lasting effect and remembrance.
Yeah,
so even if we do beat them in the league here and there or get a result against them, when it's up for silverware, that just has that long-standing memory.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong because it lives in the memory, especially when you have good performances and you unfortunately come out second best. And I think that's happened with Liverpool quite a few times. I think the game against Anfield, 6 in the memory. Well, the game at Anfield last season, 6 in the memory, where we played brilliantly. They got ahead, and then Jackson got that brilliant equaliser. And then straight after, actually, they got a goal through Curtis Jones, I believe. But we outplayed them throughout that game. All brilliant. But it just seems like with Enzo Maresca, he seems to kind of have Arne Slot's number. Because despite in defeat, Arne Slot came out and said, that Chelsea team is a very dangerous team. And it's one of, that was probably the best performance that they've come up against in the season at that point in time. And he kept citing it. There's been multiple times that he keeps citing that result and citing that performance that, that we were much, much better than him, much better than his team. And that's why he was a bit surprised that Chelsea didn't challenge the league. But it was that good, especially on the day. So with all that context in mind, how are you feeling, again?
Yeah, so going to game, I don't know if you remember, I was quite confident. I mentioned the chat. A lot of that was just due to their front line.
Yeah.
Despite the amount of danger that they have, their front line which don't really press. And what that almost leads to is that you have only 6 players, on the pitch that are going to have a defensive impact. And the way we tend to play with our fullback, getting involved in the midfield, that's often going to give us a advantage in terms of that box midfield. Yeah. So I had that good feeling there that, okay, we should be able to be a team that can actually dominate them in the midfield. And even if we are building up, I didn't imagine there to be too much pressure in terms of on like a Sanchez, for example, who tends to make a random error or like a Cucurella out wide in terms of like that recovery pace. I had a feeling that we'd be quite confident there. And even if I go into the game early on, there was literally a moment where Sanchez, he literally just threw the ball over Salah's head.
Yeah,
it was like
that over his head.
Yeah, he turned him. He was like, I'm not going to turn around and press. And within 3 seconds, it was that trifecta of Enzo, Cucurella, and who were linking up. And what that just ended up meaning was that a midfield and Gravenberch almost had a 1v3 or 2v3 when Bradley was
all the time.
I was quite confident in the fact that our press, being pressed, we weren't going to be too harried there. My only worry in the game was how we'd actually take our chances. Because we've been a team in these big games that even if we can, have a semblance of domination in midfield and hold the game for like 30 and 20-minute spells, when it actually comes to putting the team to the sword, creating those chances that someone's going to be there on the end of to finish, we've been quite toothless for the last few years. So that was my main worry. And knowing that Pedro is obviously playing with a knock, knowing that Cole Palmer, a Palace man, is available, and knowing that our wide players, currently outside of Estevao, I don't really feel much go for it there. I had a bit of worry there.
Yeah.
But all in all, against Liverpool at Stamford Bridge, we tend to do well. So I was quite confident in that.
It's weird. Like we've actually not lost to Liverpool at Stamford Bridge for 4 years. So we've had 2 wins, 2 draws. And like you said, it was a weird one for me because going to the game, I'm like, it's Liverpool. I hate playing them. I hate them in general. But things haven't really been clicking for them. Their attack hasn't been flowing. Their most expensive signings haven't really looked particularly good. So I wasn't really worried. And in my head, I was like, if there's a game that, Wirtz is going to make an impact, then maybe it's this one. But I was trying my hardest not to kind of bleed that negativity into the chat or just in my mind, because honestly, Wirtz has been an utter disappointment. Alexander Isak hasn't looked too bright either. And generally, we've kind of dealt with Isak a number of times, especially at the bridge. And I know he scored against us last season against Newcastle, but for the last part of that game, like, he was not a threat and he was non-existent. So I was quietly confident, but in these big games, you have to take your moments. You know what I mean? You have to take your moments. And I don't know. When you look at that lineup, my concern is pretty similar to yours. Will we take our moments? And it's a bit of a weird one with Chelsea. Very, very weird. The attack, the attack for me, Garnacho and Pedro Neto, they're both players that don't fill me with confidence when it comes to being in front of goal. Either particular goal threats. Garnacho possibly, but everything else with Garnacho, decision making poor, just shooting, final action pretty poor, and then obviously Pedro Neto is quite goal shy in general, and I think decision making at this age, 25, 26, so it's not off the level. So I was a bit worried in that respect. But I trusted João Pedro to at least occupy and bring us some semblance of ball retention as well. I weren't sure if he was going to get the chances to score the goals. Because again, I don't know if, for me, João Pedro needs someone that is a creator. And I don't think Pedro Neto or Garnacho are particularly creative players. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think for me, that was my only concern. I didn't feel that we're going to lose the game, but whether we'll win it or not, I think the game was going to be won. But only Estevao, for me, was introduced because I wasn't feeling Neto in general. So what did you think about the lineup? Because with Gusto in midfield, Reece James, obviously when the lineup came out, we were all thinking, James in midfield, he wants to stiffen up the midfield. And obviously Lavia back on the bench, etc. But what did you think about the lineup? Were you mildly concerned?
I wasn't concerned per se, but I initially thought it may have been a 3-4-3. So I thought it was going to be, a three back of Reece, Achiampong, and Badiashile at the back. But obviously going into the game, you obviously saw it was a midfield. It was a midfield too with those two, but Enzo slightly ahead in the second half, peeling off to the left. So I was a bit surprised and taken back by that initially. But in terms of the wider lineup, I was disappointed to see Estevao not starting, particularly just because I thought that he's been a player that the fans, especially, can obviously quite excited by him, and I think there's been a lot of enthusiasm about him and his involvement in the team of recent. Literally the moment he even touches the ball, even comes to the pitch, the crowd on their feet, they're clapping. So in that regard alone,
the fans love him, man.
The fans love him. Yeah. So I was quite surprised that he wasn't actually involved. But other than that, I wasn't surprised to see Garnacho start. I thought, given the fact that he obviously had that game, that cameo off the bench against Benfica, I thought, okay, maybe he'll earn a start here. But other than that, I was a bit disappointed to not see Estevao in turn. That was like my main apprehension. Because obviously, given our centre backs, we knew that some of them were going to be missing. Yeah. So, and even then, I was relatively confident in Badiashile and Josh, just because I know they're both two talented centre backs. The main issue has just been for Badiashile, particularly fitness and consistency of start. And on Josh is just the age. So it's like we've always said at Chelsea that there's a lot of talented players here within the squad. It's now just putting those final pieces and gluing it all together and having like a semblance of a title winning team.
Yeah, like you said, I think that when it comes to talent, I think we've got a very, very good squad, man. I think we've got a really good squad. We've still got some missing pieces, and I think that's normal because most teams are always going to have that little thing that's not quite there. I don't think if you look at all of the squads in the league, you could say that they're all missing something, in my opinion. And yet for us, we're missing. I feel a real killer in front of goal, and we've been missing that for quite some time. And I feel like we're and that doesn't necessarily need to be a purchase. It could be something from internal. But we're missing that real partnership in defence. Obviously, we won the Club World Cup with Chalobah and Colwill, but Cole was out with the ACL. And the performance of Badishil and Achiampong, bro, man. That was a real performance. That was a beautiful performance from both of them. The balance was really good. One was aggressive, one was like sitting back and reserved and comfortable, and being the less aggressive player and just sweeping up and cleaning up. It was just a brilliant performance from both of them. And is it possible? Could you look at that and think maybe Chelsea have found their solution moving forward in terms of an actual real partnership that could rival, but could kind of look like a semblance of what we saw last season with Fofana and Colwill for the initial phases of the season, and then Colwill and Chalobah for the latter part of the season. I think it looks like we could possibly be having that. What do you think?
Do you know what I think is an interesting thing, right? And I think not to go like technical, but I think there's almost like a bit of A/B testing that's needed here with this partnership. So it's about there's almost that stress testing of having them play against different forwards as well. Because I feel like against like Isaac, he's the kind of striker he's not going to necessarily physically worry you. A lot of it's due to his movements, him dropping into the pockets, and whereby we're able to dominate in midfield. He didn't have many opportunities for that. But for example, against Forrest, where you have a Chris Wood who's a bit more physical, and I know they've obviously got this new striker in as well. So they've got two quite physical strikers there in particular. I feel like that would be a different test in itself. Yeah. Even for example, against a son of like an Isidore, someone who's a bit more mobile. So I feel like I need to see them, a stress test against a more challenging striker. And to be fair, given our next run of games, they are quite favourable. So I'm expecting us to start to put together a run. I don't think we have a quote unquote difficult game on paper, quote unquote, until late November. We have Barcelona, Arsenal back to back. So this run should give them opportunity to build together a partnership and a confidence together ahead of those games. But it'll just be about seeing if Maresca is going to actually stick with Josh in particular. Because I know with Maresca, as much as he's given him the praise and said how much of a fan he is of the player, he has been quite quick to obviously take him out the limelight, which I guess isn't a terrible thing given his age and the pressure that come in Premier League football at that age, especially at centre back, where he's a position where, unlike obviously with striker, if you make no mistake, he's missing a goal. But if at centre back, you conceding the goal could almost be a bit more, costly, especially given how toothless our attack can be at times. Yeah. So I understand it, but I guess it's almost like a test on Maresca now in terms of, is he gonna stick with these two, or are we gonna see a bit of a change? But then even then, I guess we'll talk about it later. But another centre back came on and he looked pretty impressive there as well in terms of his.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, but like you said, in terms of like the partnership though, and in terms of Josh's performance, I understand, like you said, Isak is not the most physical, not the most physically robust, and isn't really going to put you in a blend on the physical standpoint. But Josh had a very good performance against Mateta earlier in the season. And a lot of people were very shocked by that because Mateta, again, one of the most, especially outside of the top 6 teams, he's definitely a capable and dangerous attacker. And yeah, I think Josh handled that expertly, to be honest. So I think he's already shown that he's good at defending against pretty much any sort of attacker. I think for me with Josh, it's the overconfidence and the overplaying which could possibly land him in trouble. But aside from that, yeah, man, I'm pretty comfortable with Josh, man. I'm very comfortable with Josh. And like you said, is it a situation where Maresca may not be brave enough to make that decision?
That's the worry.
Because that is the concern for me. I think without a question, he's definitely one of the most talented centre backs we have. But yeah, is he going to be trusted by Maresca? I'm not entirely sure. You know what I mean? I'm really not entirely sure. That's my thing, and I don't think we have the time for him to be, and because we're quite far behind the leaders already. I don't think we quite have the time to be going through this like kind of cowardice mentality. You know, I think Josh has shown himself to be a good player, shown himself to be trustworthy. Try him in, bro. Try him in. 19 years of age, looked brilliant, and obviously we've got Chaloba there, who, for me personally, doesn't really mind being a squad player because that's kind of what he's been brought in as always since he's been at Chelsea. So I think give it to the guy that you think is the better player, and I think Josh, he sings his praises all the time. So I think it's time to just give it to Josh, man, and let him lose it, because I think that performance made him, for sure, for me at least, he earned it from my perspective. You know, so yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think even when you look at his profile physically as well, I think he's something that we lack at centre back in terms of that rangy defender who can carry the ball and play the ball and just get a bit more cover ground quite well as well. So yeah, I think he's a profile that we have missed. His Fofana's obviously lost a bit physically,
100%.
And I definitely hope that he can be given that opportunity, because he did show some really good things in that game. In terms of that nicking the ball up and just carrying out forward.
Yeah, man.
So
just being able to drive us on the pitch. Yeah, driving us on the pitch.
Something we missed, and it helped us big time in the first half of last season when Fofana was fit. So
yeah,
it's something that we have a solution there, which is obviously replicable from last season. So
yeah,
it's about seeing if Maresca is actually going to implement it within the first team and go from there.
Yeah, I mean, look, Maresca's been saying since last season when Wesley got injured, he's like, I can't play the way I want to play because Wesley allowed us to play a certain way with the aggression, play us up high up the pitch, that recovery speed, that recovery pace. Josh has got that in spades. So, like you said, maybe this can take us back to the days of old where we're actually able to be super aggressive and cover the spaces necessary. I'm excited. I'm excited to see more of Josh. I love him. Obviously, I've watched him for a long time, so I'm excited for him getting his opportunity. And Badi Shile, after months out of injury, after the frustration of his injury issue, yeah, man, I think he's done really, really well. He's done really, really well. That performance was brilliant. Salah didn't get a sniff. Yeah, Isak didn't get a sniff. I thought it was very composed. Obviously, when he went down injured, I was shook. I was shook because I thought, he's going to be out for months. But apparently it was just precaution. So thankfully, and same with Josh, he went down as well. So thankfully, the precaution, they'll be okay. But like you said earlier, Gerard Hato came in and kind of moved me still. He kind of moved me still. What were your thoughts on Hato's performance? Because, there was a couple of moments where you're like, this is a baller.
Yeah, no, I was quite infused. He showed two big parts of playing the centre back. He was really good in terms of sweeping up danger. There was a time where the ball almost bounced off over Reece James' head quite awkwardly, and Ekitike would have almost been through on goal, and he sorted out really well. But it was also him, being really composed on the ball. We had a few little players around him, and he obviously played in Slavia, so there was some really good moments there. And he's obviously a quiet, athletic player anyway. So having more of those profiles at the back is definitely going to be massively helpful in terms of being a bit more aggressive and making the pitch smaller for our opposition. So I can definitely be confident in the fact that he should obviously be a player that's going to be quite helpful going forward, both in terms of rotating Cucurella at left back and also playing left centre back. But interesting enough for me, he did look a bit more comfortable at left centre back when he has looked at left back. And I'm not sure if that's due to him inverting, not having to invert into midfield. So I didn't watch him much at Ajax with anything at all. So I'm not sure how much he played there, but
so he played
the game ahead of him.
He played at left back at Ajax, to be honest. I think, in his first couple of seasons, he played at centre back, but then he got moved out to left back, and he was like almost like a marauding left back. Very good on the ball, very aggressive, quick as hell, super rapid. But I don't know. I think you might be right in terms of the inversion thing. The inversion may have been throwing him off a little bit. The requirements to kind of do that, you have to really be familiar with the manager's requirements, and I think that's why he trusts Gusto to do it. He trusts Reece to do it. He trusts Cucurella to do it. It's not easy. It's not easy at all. But Hato definitely did struggle at left back in a couple of the games that he did play. But yeah, man, when you're playing him on that left centre back, he looked really, really good, man. So again, it's no surprise. It's befitting of a player that was earmarked to be one of the best young defenders in the world, actually. So when we've got him, everyone said it was a real snip, especially for the fee. So yeah, man, happy days with our defensive options. I know a lot of people are saying we need to buy a centre back, we need to buy a defender. I've said it before. I don't think we do. I don't feel like we do. I feel like we've got more than enough there. It just becomes an issue if you have compounding injuries. You've got multiple people that get injured. And as we saw in the Liverpool game, actually, Reece James had a little stint at right centre back, and he looked brilliant from my perspective. So we've got options there, we've got solutions there. But it's definitely interesting to see how far we could probably go with these centre back options. But in terms of centre back options, there's slightly further up the pitch. Slightly further up the pitch with the midfield, Caicedo, Enzo, Fernandez, Romeo Lavia. Obviously, Lavia came on in the second half and was styling and profiling. But that midfield duo of Caicedo and Enzo, again, we were told many years ago that apparently they can't play together. I thought they played excellently together again against Liverpool. Let's talk about Moises Caicedo briefly, and then we can talk about Enzo Fernandez, because I thought Enzo had a fantastic game. I think the second half especially was actually brilliant. But Moises Caicedo, I think, kind of run out of superlatives to describe the guy. I think he's just a remarkable footballer, remarkable player. Walk me through that goal, Babs, because it was nothing but top quality, man. Top quality.
No, definitely. It was something that I spoke on quite largely in the main pod, just in terms of how those midfield rotations really played effect in that goal. So, the rotation between Cucurella and Enzo in particular, and just how that often led to Gravenberch being quite dragged out. So, whereby we had, Badiashile obviously, holding the ball for a bit, basing the press. It's not really been something that's been effective against a lower quality team, but against like a team that's going to press a bit higher, like Liverpool, where they stepped up a bit there, you obviously saw Gravenberch just marking Enzo, and what that almost did was that it freed up Gusto to get a bit more forward. So he obviously received the pass from Badiashile, plays a quick one to Caicedo, which leaves McAllister, open, and just he was a victim. He was a victim.
He got deleted, bro. Let's not even be nice. He got deleted, bro. He got deleted. Very easily. We have
a more athletic player like Gravenberch, who would probably be a bit more better capable of dealing with that. That choice by Maresca to play Gusto midfield and have those rotations with Enzo, it really opened them up, and you could see there was literally like a wide sea of space, in front of goal. And when we talk about the finish, what they call it poster stamp, literally right in the very top corner.
Do you know what? Mamash Billy, he had got a touch.
He got a hand to it, yeah.
He got a touch, but the power was so.
It was too peak.
Oh, the ball strike! It was such a pure strike, that no matter the touch, it didn't deviate from goal. It was an absolutely stunning strike, and like you said, the build-up for that goal was brilliant. But the chasm of space that was there was insane. And Virgil van Dijk was an absolute disgrace, not engaging and sniffing the danger, knowing your man. because if Gusto is running into the box, you're getting shook about Gusto. But Caicedo has shown he can strike the ball from distance. You're not getting to engage, and instead you're out here twerking on the edge of your box.
Yeah, that was really poor. Just even the fact
Insane
that
defending. And
even
if
the
I'm
fact
a
that,
Liverpool, I'd be shocked.
yeah, that was poor. Even the fact that Kirkis was tracking that run.
Yeah,
He had opportunities to step out and be a bit more proactive.
yeah.
But I'm not going to complain because that was
Yeah.
an unreal striker, and it really set the tone for the game.
Yeah, incredible. And yeah, like you said, it was it set the tone. We looked very strong, man, throughout that game. And if we had Cole Palmer playing and Estevao from the start, I think we tear them apart.
Agreed.
I think we tear them apart, man. Kirkes, just awful. Obviously Bradley, awful. But our wing players didn't really have enough about them to really cause that much problems. I think Garnacho had an okay-ish game, busy, but yeah, when you bring on Gittins and you bring on Estevao, it just a whole new level of dynamism and danger came onto the pitch. But yeah, man, that 1-0 looked very, very comfortable. But you know, before the second half, we're always wanting to get that second goal. Because you just know that Liverpool got the capacity to kind of cause danger and possibly score a goal, even though they didn't really deserve it. And yeah, that's kind of what happened. Like in the first half, at the end of the first half, I thought to myself, we need a second goal because Liverpool can't play any worse than this because they were really, really poor. Nothing was connecting. The attack wasn't really moving and shaking. And we just looked comfortable. Badiashile and Achampong comfortable. Enzo Fernandez was bossing it with Caicedo. Gusto was causing real problems in that pocket. And yeah, Cucurella had Salah on toast. So it was just very comfortable. So in my head, I'm like, man, if we don't get that second goal early in the second half, then I feel like Liverpool are going to come back into it. And back into it they did. Decent bit of play. The deflected cross was miscontrolled by Isak. And the ball just falls to Gakpo, who smashed it into the roof of the net. And it's 1-1, undeserved. But, you know, that's when the boxing match really, really started to take hold, didn't it?
Yeah.
Liverpool and Chelsea, when it got to 1-1 and around about 75th minute, the team started swinging. Both teams were really out here swinging. And that was a real box office, Barclays, dust up. That was beautiful, and I ain't seen a game like that.
Sure, it was really interesting. Right? I thought even that gap with that space between halftime and the goal, I thought it was really fast paced as it was. Because it was obviously that Garnacho counter attack where he could have played João Pedro in.
Yep.
There was even the chance where Verts obviously does the lovely pirouette to pass.
Yes.
And what was really interesting about that game, right? And in terms of it was a tale of two halves within the second half. So you obviously had Neto whereby he has that where Garnacho, he takes a nice touch, you know, he gets the ball down the byline and he makes the cross. But if you look back at that again, Pedro is obviously occupying Van Dijk.
Mm-hmm.
Neto, rather than attacking the far post, he's come behind Pedro. Attacking his sticks. And then you look on the other half with Estevao where he comes on. Cucurella plays the ball in the same area.
But
he has to know how to attack the ball at the back stick because we hear it time and time again. You know, I don't know about you, but literally all my time watching football, playing football, coaches have always said the fullback is always the weak point when it comes to, you know, crosses, and you will get a few goals in the season just being at that back stick. And Gakpo got one in that game. Estevao got the winner in that game, and I think that was a real, you know, advertisement for wingers in particular, just in terms of, you know, being really aggressive and just make sure you're being there for the ball, because 9 times out of 10 you may not get a chance, but that one time may be the chance which is the difference between a draw and a win.
100%. And that's the thing, when it comes to like attacking the box and attacking the area, that's Pedro Neto all over. Pedro Neto's not the type to be attacking the far post or attacking the space for a goal. Like, it's just really, really poor. And like you said, that counter-attack was a beautiful pass. I think it was Sanchez with an incredible...
It was,
Sanchez.
Actually, it was a really nice touch to take out there.
It was a great touch. On the run. And, man, he did... I think everyone's talking about the cross. The cross wasn't a great one because Neto didn't make the run. I think João Pedro did the right thing in trying to, attack the space, but also trying to occupy Van Dijk as well. But yeah, Pedro Neto had to attack the back post, and he didn't. He kind of hid towards the edge of the box, and very, very weird. But yeah, man, I think when Estevao and Gittins came on, I think for me, Estevao was the real level raiser. Different level. Gittins had a couple of decent moments, of directness, really taking it to it was Bradley initially, and then it was Szoboszlai. Really taking it to them, just going 1v1, quick feet, shimmy, and then trying to let the thing go. That's what I'm on. That's what I need, especially when they're trying to search for the goal and give them the other team something to think about. Because Garnacho, at no point, he only had one shot, and that's from the short corner. But throughout the rest of the game, he didn't cut in and shoot once. And yeah, Estevao and Gittins got it cracking, man. It got it cracking. There's that sequence where Reece James pings it, daisy cutter to Gittins, and Gittins carries the ball about 20 yards and then cuts in, bangs it. Maresca, great little save. To be honest, it was a comfortable save for Maresca for Gittins and strike. But then it comes out to Estevao, and then Estevao in the same sequence shimmies onto his left and then bangs it, going in the top corner, maybe getting in the top corner. And Maresca tips it away for a corner. And then those are those moments you're thinking, nah, this kid, danger. And Liverpool, the sirens are ringing. So they're trying to get close to Estevao, but he's so dynamic, he's so difficult to play against because he can pick out beautiful crosses. He can take a strike from a distance. He can attack the near post. He can attack the far post. He's so elusive, so dangerous. And yeah, man. The goal itself. Let's talk about the goal because the build-up in and amongst itself was quite special. All of the team, apart from Guiu, touched the ball. The build-up was swift. It was quick. It was quality. And obviously Liverpool playing they weren't a deep block or mid block at this point, but I think Liverpool were quite comfortable with the draw at this point in time. They tried to press a little bit. The attackers tried to press, and we beat it quite easily. It was a great reverse ball from Caicedo into, I believe it was Enzo. No, into Lavia. And then Lavia passes it to Cucurella, who pushes it, and Cucurella slips it to Gittins, who, again, does the right thing, waits for Enzo Fernandez, slips it to Enzo. Cucurella does the decoy run, runs offside. Enzo bides his time. Cucurella then resets the run, and then bang, that pass. And in our heads, Bab, you were the first one to say, is it offside? Is it offside? Shit.
Bro, that was my worry.
I was panicking, bro. And then I saw immediately, he's clean on. I just want to shout out to Cucurella, man, because not only was that a brilliant performance, but the intelligence to reset the run, to stay onside, make sure he's onside, and the cross was absolutely fantastic. Pull it into an area where the keeper couldn't do anything. Robertson was absolutely destroyed. The centre backs were destroyed, and then Estevao, wowzers. That finish, beautiful. Under pressure, attacked it, slid it in, and the celebrations, bro. I've not felt that way in such a long time from a win. I've not actually felt that way in a long time. The PSG win was beautiful, don't get me wrong, because we baxed them up from minute one. But this was so beautiful because in the way that we won, the last minute kick, one of the last kicks of the game, Estevao comes on, saves the day. And he's taken to us like a duck to water, man. And it was just such a special moment. It was such a special moment. And I feel like that kind of leads me onto the next topic, but I just felt like there was that word synergy is that's what I'm talking about. That synergy between the fans, between the players, between the manager and the owners. That synergy is so important to winning. And I felt that for the first time in a long time, that synergy was there between us all. And Maresca's celebration, running down the touchline, it's a familiar feeling because whenever that's happened, that manager's also gone on to win things at the club. And Maresca's already won things, but I mean big things. So it was just very, very special seeing that moment. And I don't want Liverpool fans to get it twisted and think it's because of them. You know, don't get me wrong, beating the champions is a great, great feeling. But it was just how everything all came together. You know, playing a big game. Everyone doubted our big game credentials. Everyone doubted our big game quality. Everyone was like writing us off because of the injuries that we had. No Cole Palmer, about 6 defenders out injured. Yeah, man. I think just the whole build up and the whole tension and pressure that was building, it was just like a release. And I don't know about you, but to me, that felt like that was the point where Maresca's really connected with the fans, like full throttle. What are your thoughts on that? Because I might be gassing it, but it definitely felt like something has happened.
I get what you mean. Just in terms of the celebration between the players, the manager, and the fans, I thought it was good, especially having it from at Stamford Bridge. It definitely makes a big change. I think what's going to be really interesting now is to see how the team handles this run of games. Because this can be like a real chance for that synergy to really show its effects. Because oftentimes these kind of things, you have these great moments. So you have one game which can almost humble you, and it's like, oh, everybody's back to reality. But I know obviously in the Premier League, you can never, underestimate any team. Same for Champions League, but this really is a run of games whereby we will expect, a good turn of results. Forrest haven't been the best of recent. Ajax as well, they've been quite poor in the Eredivisie. Sunderland, as much as they've looked decent, here and there.
You should. They're newly promoted. It's like you should,
So you have a real chance to go there, then Wolves after, then Spurs, and there's a real chance here to just get that pace going and get the good times and get the feeling going within the camp, because we saw how much of an effect that had last season.
Yeah, man.
If we can marry up that good feeling with being able to manage two games a week in the league, Champions League, it'll be a real proof and evidence that we've made some
real strides
or progress.
Yeah. It'll be a coming of age, really. And obviously with Maresca last season, quite buoyantly said these men are not ready yet. I think that may have been a self-fulfilling prophecy. I think if he was a bit more bullish, I think the players might have believed they might have actually gone for the title. This season, there's an argument that our squad's a bit weaker. That's neither here nor there. I don't think it's really an excuse. I think we've got more than enough quality to really at least challenge. But yeah, coming through this period now, where you're playing Champions League football, Premier League football, Champions League football, Premier League football, Champions League football, Premier League football. This is it. This is the real test. And obviously the boys are tired. They've had a long summer, won the Club World Cup. There's a lot of niggling injuries that players have got. We can only hope that this international break and the next international break in November, that some of the players can get their much-deserved R&R. And not go to international camps. But yeah, man, it's very, very interesting. I feel like this is the time for Chelsea to really kick on, and I think probably will. I just think the momentum is there. I think that the chemistry is there, and what a way to go into the international break in general. You know what I mean? So. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, we've got quite a few players still out injured. I believe João Pedro, I don't know if he went to the Brazil national team. I don't know. Did he?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't think he did. I think he's rested. I don't think he got selected for the Selecao. So, yeah, he's not going to be playing. So Caicedo's not gone on international duty. I think Enzo Fernandez is the only one that's really gone. So, yeah, I think we should be in a decent place. Hopefully these 2 weeks can do João Pedro some good, because he's been playing with an injury. Caicedo's been playing with an injury. Enzo Fernandez has been playing with an injury. So hopefully Enzo doesn't play too much. and maybe gets released after the first game. But yeah, let's talk about Nottingham Forest because yeah, the chance to go on a real run starts there.
No, definitely. And I guess my only worry is that I feel like Forest have recently been a bit of a bogey team for us. I remember last season we had that really frustrating draw against them, where I just felt like we just couldn't get past Matt Sells, and that big win that we had towards the end of the season against them was obviously massive in terms of us actually getting Champions League. But even if I look at that season before that, we always had that big 3-2 game where it looks as though Hudson's already got the winner, and then you obviously have Sterling and Jackson who go ahead and turn it around for us when Reece James comes off the bench. So they have been a bit of a tough team for us in terms of getting good results in recent times. But given the way they've been this season and given how tough it's been for them to really play, it almost feels like a bit of a banana skin. I didn't catch the game against Newcastle, but I did see the Bruno Guimaraes goal, and even just looking statistically at that game, they didn't have a sniff, and
yeah,
they've been struggling quite, and they've obviously been changing the system a bit. They've gone from the 4-2-3-1 to 3-4-3.
yeah.
So we're interested to see how they play against us because they obviously need the results. They mean they're going to have to actually come out and play.
Yeah,
I mean, like, how quickly can we kill the game? Because I don't want it to be a game where we go 1-0 up and it lingers, and all of a sudden you get that last minute equalizer. It's a game where you have to almost go out and kill them.
You have to kill them, man. And he is looking bad. It's looking very, very bad. And if he loses against us, then I can imagine that he might get the chop. But yeah, like you said, it's got the potential for being a banana skin. I think Chelsea just need to put them to the sword. Obviously, no Cole Palmer still. And apparently he's not going to be back until the end of November, which is going to be very tough. But I think Chelsea should have enough to kind of get the results there at the very least. But yeah, man, I feel like we just need to kill them. To be honest, I want to kind of get your team for that match. All things being equal, people being fit. But yeah, how would you start that game? Because yeah, I feel we need to really be super aggressive. Andrew's going to play the way he plays. Nothing's going to change. So yeah, how would you start that game? It's away from home. It's 12 p.m. 12:30 kickoff on Saturday. How would you go?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because these are the kind of games going into the season whereby I almost earmark them as games where I'd ideally want a João Pedro and a Delap to play together, just so you have your batter ram striker who can hold up against centre backs and then being able to knock it down to your support striker and your wide threats. So I think that's going to be quite an interesting thing to see. We didn't really touch on it in terms of Mark Yu coming off the bench against Liverpool. He had a bit of an impact there off the ball in particular.
No, I liked him. I liked it. Not because he did anything spectacular, but he was a presence in the box and he was a distraction in the box. Van Dijk was distracted for the Estevao goal because Mark Yu was right there. And obviously he had an eye on him. So yeah, I think Yu's got, I don't particularly rate him as a player, but as a pure striker, he's enough to contribute something. You know what I mean? So yeah.
So it'll be an interesting one.
Would you go Mark Yu? Would you go Mark Yu?
I wouldn't, because I don't think he has the quality that I'd want.
Yeah.
He'd probably be a player that I'd throw on the 60th minute if we're struggling.
Yeah.
But in terms of the lineup, I'd probably go Pedro up top.
Yeah.
I would want to see us try Buonanotte in the 10. Just because I think we miss a bit of ingenuity and guile in behind the striker.
Do you think it might also be a case where Enzo's probably playing that he's got a game in Miami 2 days before the game against Forest? So do you think maybe using Buonanotte might actually be a sensible thing ploy wise to not rush Enzo back into a game where it had minimal rest?
Yeah, because that's the thing, right? With these South American players, it's that travel time.
Yeah, it's heavy.
And for some reason, it was always weird whereby they almost end up playing 2 days straight after.
Yeah.
So I wasn't necessarily thinking about resting Enzo in that regard, but I would probably play Buonanotte, Gittins, and Estevao, just so we have some real goal threat, going into the game. Because Forrest at the moment, in terms of defensively, they're struggling with Murillo at the back there.
Yeah, is he injured?
Yeah, he's injured. He got injured in the game earlier this season, and he's a player whereby he's quite defensively, sure and strong. But look at their wing backs, even with Nico Williams and the other guy they have. I think they should really be. Olaena's out as well.
Sure.
Yeah, he didn't play either. He's got a hamstring injury, bro. He's I think she was out till like the New Year. So even watching a few of the highlights, I think out wide they are there to be gotten at.
Yeah.
So having those two who are quite goal focused, and Buonanotte can offer some ingenuity, and Pedro who can obviously offer the same thing, I think that'd be quite good and a bit of a handful.
Yeah.
And then in the midfield, I'd probably go Caicedo and Lavia, given what you've mentioned there of Enzo about the rest, not to rush it back in. So I'd do that. And then in terms of the backline, I'd probably go Cucurella. I'd then go Badiashile, Josh, and Reese. So keep it the same. I would have played a Hato, but I think him and Josh are a bit similar in terms of profile, in terms of being that front-footed defender.
You can't. You need the balance. You need the balance.
I think it offers a good balance there. Then obviously Sanchez in goal, so that would probably be what my lineup would be. What I do expect to happen though is Enzo in the 10, Garnacho at left wing, and then
you think he's gonna play Enzo?
Yeah, I could. Because Maresca, it seems like Enzo is almost like his manager.
His general, to be honest. You're right. He's his general.
Because whenever anything changes, he's always the one who goes to the sideline.
That's his general. I think you're right. Because
even against Liverpool, that 3-man midfield change, it came with him dropping off to that left-hand side space.
Yeah, that left 8 role.
I think it's the best utilization of him.
Cash money.
Agreed.
That left 8 role was sensational. It was such a good performance, man, from Enzo. Such a good performance. So yeah, man, I think it's going to be very interesting. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Yeah. No, that's what I expect the lineup to be. That's what I'd want the lineup to be on the other hand. Because it is going to be a busy run of games coming up. I know it's obviously I think this is the run where we go from Prem to Champions League again. If I remember correctly. So we have
back to back. It's gonna be non-stop.
Next week Wednesday's Ajax, and then there's even FA Cup weekend after we play Sunderland. So it's gonna be quite back to back. So we're gonna need to be having some rotations and try not to exhaust players, in this run of games.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. People are gonna need to be managed. They're mentally gonna be managed. So yeah, my team is gonna be. I think I'll be quite similar to you, to be honest. I think I will go Sanchez, Reece James, Achiampong, and Badiashile, Cucurella, Caicedo. Obviously, I think Santos may be back as well from injury after the international breaks. Maybe Santos. Or Lavia. To be honest, Lavia's there as well. I mean, sorry. The options are crazy.
There's a lot of options. There are a lot of options.
Buonanotte is an interesting one. I think, I'd probably go Estevao on the 10, João Pedro up top, Gittins on the left. Maybe Garnacho on the right. Because I've seen Garnacho on the right for Manchester United, and I think that's actually probably where he plays the best. So I think maybe I do Garnacho on the right. I think Pedro Neto, for me, he needs to sit down, he needs to hold the bench, because it's just not been good enough. What are your thoughts on Pedro Neto in general? I actually don't know what your thoughts are.
I think he's just been largely underwhelming. I think he's flat to deceive at times as well. he obviously works super hard off the ball, and that's probably been the mainstay in terms of why he's been involved in the team and he's kept his place. But even when you then compare that to an Estevao who came on against Liverpool and he showed quality on the ball and off the ball, he was tracking back into our own penalty area and he really offered a lot of defensive quality there. So I think in terms of that tracking back, he's obviously shown that he can do that as well. So for me personally, I think he's flat to deceive. I don't think he's taken the leaps and bounds that he potentially could have, because I think he's got weapons in his toolbox. But in my opinion, I think he's become a player whereby the idea of him is almost taken over. If you get what I mean, whereby you've got a fast winger who can strike the ball really, really well. You know, he can dribble.
Yeah.
But in terms of how he's actually applied his skill set in his time at Chelsea, it's been largely underwhelming.
It's
and
just mid, bro.
Given the fee that we paid as well.
Bro, 60 million. I'm sorry. Like, what we're talking about here, these intangibles that we're talking about, works hard, gets about the pitch, you know, not good enough, bro. Like, you have to have quality on top of that. And like you said, Estevao came on and did everything in terms of the work rate. And even Pedro Neto's greatest attacking quality, Estevao showed he's got better quality in his delivery than Neto, who just hits it into areas, whereas Estevao picks out players, you know? So everything that Neto brings to the game and brings to the team, Estevao brings and more, much more. So, you know, like I said before many times, Pedro Neto, able squad player, but I'm not interested in him starting games regularly for us. No way. We need an attack that's dangerous and threatening, and he is the opposite of that. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think for me, he needs to be sat on the bench, and we need to play a team that's really going to try and go for it and kill the game off so that we can take off players, rest them for the game against Ajax, because that's big. Obviously, we got our first win in the Champions League against Benfica. But yeah, that Ajax game, we need to solidify that and get that win. I think, are we away from home that game? No,
no, it's at the Bridge. It's at the Bridge. Yeah, so we've got a run again.
We need to solidify, crash that, get back-to-back wins in the league, in the group phase, and then man, we kick on to the following weekend. So, I'm gonna go for a scoreline prediction against Nottingham Forrest of 3-0. I'm going to say João Pedro brace and Estevao again.
I'm going to go 3-1.
Okay.
I'm going to go 3-1. I have a feeling they may nick one, and then we may take the game away from them. But I'm hoping for a clean sheet. I think Gittins is going to get on the score sheet.
That would be nice.
I think he'll get on the score sheet and start to build some confidence up. And I'm hoping João Pedro can get a goal as well, because that can be good for his confidence.
Yeah, he needs a goal. He needs a goal. All right, I think we can leave it there, man. The pod was a nice, short and sweet one. We don't want to overdo it on the Liverpool win, because I feel like we've covered it quite enough on various different platforms. But yeah, it was a great win for Chelsea Football Club. A coming of age kind of performance from the boys against the champions of England, and hopefully this could be the start of something very, very special for this team, for our coach, the players, and the fans. But yeah, we'll be back again next week to build up for what's going to come against Nottingham Forest and the next couple of weeks. But yeah, we'll leave it there. I've been Meeds, Babs has been Babs, we've been Chessy Hour. Back in next week. Peace.
Peace.
Yo, when I spit bars in a rave, man, I go hard like Santan.